I thought so too.
The March 12, 2019 regular meeting of the Mentor Exempted Village Board of Education is called to order. This meeting is being held in accordance with Section 3313.15 of the Ohio Revised Code. Mr. Wilson, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Briner?
Here.
Mr. Buckley?
Here.
Ms. Jisling?
Present.
Mrs. Roberts, recorded absent. Mr. Tuttle?
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I would like to welcome everyone to the March 12, 2019 regular meeting of the Mentor Exempted Village Board of Education. Prior to this evening, each board member has received for their review and consideration the agenda and materials associated with each agenda item for the board's approval via the district's paperless Board of Education agenda system board docs. The public can access the agenda through the school district's website. The agenda is available through the district's website for public viewing the Sunday prior to the board meeting. Board members have the opportunity to call the superintendent and chief financial officer for information concerning agenda items and to request, if needed, additional information. There are two places on the agenda when the board entertains comments from the community. The first hearing of the public is dedicated to those who wish to address the board on agenda items only. The second hearing of the public is dedicated to those who wish to address the board on any subject, whether it is an item on the agenda or another issue. When addressing the board, please state your name. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please address your questions to the president. This meeting is being televised on delayed basis and will be shown on Spectrum Cable, channel 1026 in Mentor and channel 1025 in Mentor on the Lake. This meeting is also being videotaped and will be shown on our YouTube channel, Cardinal TV, Mentor, Ohio. Please place your mobile telephones on silent mode during the meeting. Next on the agenda, approval of minutes. Mr. Wilson, please call the roll.
So moved. Second.
I'm sorry, what? We called the roll.
Oh, all right, now I'm ready.
Yep, sorry.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Buckley?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes. Next on the agenda, hearing of the public on agenda items only. Hearing none. Mr. Porter?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. I have the following recommendations listed under the consent agenda and recommend approval of items 5A1 through 5A6 and addendum item 5A7, a copy of which was at your seat when you arrived. This resolution is a recommended step for Mentor schools to be recognized as a Purple Star district in Ohio, which indicates a district officially supports all military children and their families.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll, Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Buckley?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. President and members of the board, tonight we are recognizing several outstanding students and staff for their achievements. I'd like to invite Mr. Hammond and Mr. Tuttle to the podium to begin the presentations.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Porter, and Mr. Wilson. This evening, it gives me great pleasure to recognize our grade-level spelling bee champions based on our district competition that culminated on January 28, 2019. These students excelled at the building level by winning their respective spell downs before moving on to the district level. Congratulations to the following students, and students, when I call your name, please come forward. You'll receive a certificate from Mr. Tuttle. Please shake both of our hands, and if you would, walk across in front of our board members to shake their hands as well. Elizabeth Plumley, 4th grade winner. You can go this way. I have two other students who are not here. I'll read their names off. Tyler Rhodes, who is a 5th grade winner, and Amelia Popescu, who is a 6th grade alternate. Next, we have Talon Lanner, 6th grade winner. Next, we have Ryan Dressler, 7th grade alternate. Ada Sabo, 7th grade winner and district alternate. Lucas Howley, 8th grade alternate.
Very proud of you. Well done.
And our last was Manav Malik, 8th grade winner and district winner.
Very proud. Well done.
Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Porter, and Mr. Wilson. Each year, our district is honored by the opportunity to participate in the George E. Hayward VFW Post 9295 Awards. Specifically, these are Teacher of the Year, Voice of Democracy for grades 9 through 12, and Patriots Pen for students in grades 6 through 8. At this time, it's my privilege to welcome to the podium Mr. Dave Napokny, Commander of VFW Post 9295, and Mr. Bob Zonneville, Chaplain, Service Officer, and Awards Program Promoter for VFW 9295. They will join us in presenting these awards. Gentlemen, come on up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The VFW for many years has had programs where we have a Policeman of the Year, Fireman of the Year, Teachers of the Year for elementary, middle school, and high school. And we also have awards for what we call Voice of Democracy, which is high school students. They write essays on a subject that we give them. This year's subject on Voice of Democracy was Why My Vote Counts. And on the Patriots Pen, which is middle school students, the subject this year was Why I Honor the American Flag. Every year that the subject that the students write on is different, but it's always something related to our country and democracy. Our post, in case somebody don't realize it, is the VFW Post 9295. The name of the post is the George E. Hayward Post. George E. Hayward, for those that don't know, was a graduate of Mentor High School. He gave his life in Vietnam flying helicopters. He's buried here in the Mentor Cemetery, so that's why our post is named after him. Years ago, we gave these at the schools. And I think this is either the 3rd or the 4th year I asked for approval to do it at a meeting, at the Board of Education meeting. The reason being is the essays are so great, we wanted you to hear some of them. We won't have all of them read them tonight, but we are going to have a couple in each group read them. We had over 300 essays this year. Not just from Mentor School. I mean, we had them also from Lake Catholic, Mentor Christian, St. Mary's, and so forth. Some of them you had to read a half a dozen times because it was hard to decide who was the best. They were all so good. I hate to admit it, I could not have written one as well myself. And tonight we want to start off with the Patriots Pen. Very first one. Each of these awards there's a cash award. By the way, for those that receive them, we ask you to do us one favor. cash the checks because it's hard to balance our checkbooks. We give out several $1,000s in awards. And sometimes we have to chase people to cash them. At my age, being on Social Security in a little bit, I get a check, I cash it. Incidentally, I feel like a dinosaur tonight. I'm an oddity because there's not many of us old World War II guys left anymore. So with Maria Richards here, come forward, please. Maria's from Memorial School. Thank you very much. Your gentleman has a check over here for you. Our next one is also from Memorial School. Incidentally, if I don't pronounce your name right, tolerates this old man. Sophia Valentine. Thank you, young lady. The next one is from Shore, Grossai Ketterman. The next one is from Shore, Colin Oraz. I guess he's not here. Next one's from Shore also, Zachary Ferris. I'm going to ask him to read his. Zachary, I'd like you to have you read yours after he gives you the award. You come over here because you ought to be very honored. It's very good.
Should I read the whole thing?
Yes, yes, sir. Step right up to the microphone so we can hear you.
June 14th, 1777, the first American flag was made with 13 alternating red to white stripes. In addition, it contained 13 stars on a blue background in a circle. On August 3rd, 1949, President Harry S. Truman declared Day Flag Day. Later, the flag was made into a flag with today, which has 50 stars in a line. Although the number of stars has changed, the stripes remain the same. People believe that the decision was made by a congressman named Francis Hopkins. In the past, the flag has been called Old Glory. Old Glory became a patriotic symbol. The flag symbolizes many things, including the stripes of the 13 original colonies. The stripes represent the states. The color red in the flag represents strength and valor, while white in the flag represents purity and innocence. The last color in the flag, blue, stands for vigilance, perseverance, and justice. The American flag stands for what we believe in the unity of our people and the diversity of our nation. The flag is a patriotic symbol to me because it represents unity and is flown at sporting events, and people turn and pay honor to what it represents. As the national anthem is sung, it stands for those who have served and are serving because it is flown 24 hours on Army bases. The American flag makes me proud to see it because it is a symbol that I've seen all my life. My father served 8 years in the Army, including a tour to Iraq. Paying homage to the flag was, to me, paying homage to my dad and those who were serving with him. I've seen it flown when he left and returned from tours. It was flown at the beginning of my baseball season the past 6 years. It was flown at my school and in parades such as Memorial Day. Another day to honor those serving and who served. The American flag is a patriotic symbol that began with the creation representing the unity of the country. It has played an important part in my life due to the fact that my father has served. I believe that the flag will continue to represent our unity and what we do as a country and what we need to remember when we see it.
And our last award for the Patriots Pen. This one I'm going to have trouble pronouncing. Quinn Sip. And young lady, you have a higher award. I'm going to ask you to read yours, please. It was very good. Come on. Oh, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. If you, all right.
All right, that's okay. Thank you. Do you want me to read it?
I'm going to take the privilege of reading her thing, Why I Honor the Flag. The American flag represents many things to many different people. For most, including me, it represents freedom. This freedom was provided by our founding fathers and is fought for every day by the brave men and women who serve in our military. These freedoms include, but are not limited to, the freedom of speech, religion, and the ability to act of your own free will. I chose these because I have a personal connection to them. My aunt is a lesbian, and because of these freedoms, she was able to be herself and marry the one she loves. My freedom of speech was respected when students across America demonstrated to bring awareness to the school shootings across our country. So when I ask why I honor the flag, it is simply because of the freedoms that it represents. I do understand that the freedoms I talk about were not always available to everyone in this country. I do believe that these freedoms are not only for the select few, but for all, and will continue to honor the flag by supporting and fighting for these freedoms to be available to all. How do I honor the American flag? I do this in a number of ways. On a daily basis, I stand and participate in the Pledge of Allegiance. I stand for the national anthem when I go to sporting events. My family also displays the flags that covered the caskets of my great-grandfather who fought in World War II and a grandfather who fought in Vietnam. In addition, when visiting the cemetery on Memorial Day, my sister and I check to see if they both have flags by their headstone. If they don't, we ask to have one placed there by their headstone. In conclusion, to understand how I honor the flag, you needed to understand what the flag means to me. The flag represents freedoms, and I honor these freedoms by honoring the flag. We have three Voice of Democracy Awards. The first one is Crystal Smith. I don't believe she's here this evening, right? Our second, so the other two, I'll give you a little warning as you're walking up to calm yourself down. The first one is Adam Forsyth. Is he Forsyth here? All right, and the last one, and she was the #1 winner on it, was Megan Huntington. And the subject on this one is why my vote counts, matters. And Megan, I'll ask you to read it, please. And thank you very much.
Why should I vote? This is a question many people ask themselves around election time. They think to themselves, what is the reason for me to vote? You are able to make a choice for a candidate or policy you believe in. It's a right and a freedom not everyone always had. There was a time when certain people could not vote. People of different religion, race, and gender were not always granted equal rights. There are still people today in places around the world who do not get the right to vote. Balloting was not always a right people had, and now that we have it, we need to use it. Voting is an expression of your opinion or choice, either positive or negative. Voting is your voice and you need to use it. Voting is an important right in our society. By voting, you make your voice heard and register your opinion on what you think the government should do, what they should change. Voting gives people the power to assert their views and choose the elected representatives to act accordingly in the elected position. Younger voters account for half of the voting population, making them a powerful political force. Every vote counts, and from everyone. Younger people are the most diverse group of voters. The youth can sway the election, and it is easier than ever to be educated about voting. The internet is one of the biggest sources of information for everything you need to know about it. The younger generation is almost 1/3 of the electorates. Low participation of young voters is bad for our democracy on different levels. It affects the younger people directly. If politicians know that young people do not vote in large numbers, they will be less likely to make legislation or take on issues that directly affect young people. Up until the 20th century, most democracies only allowed men to vote. This includes the democracy of ancient Greece, the Roman Republic, and early democracies in Britain and even the United States. Less than 100 years ago, women could not vote. The fight for equal rights for women, including the right to vote in the United States, was a long and slow process. All people should be treated equal regardless of race or gender. Women did not have the right to vote from the government, but they began the process in states and territories to get that right. On August 26, 1920, the Ninth Amendment was signed into law. The 19th Amendment states, "The rights of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on the account of sex." Voting is a constitutional right and privilege that Americans have. We should make use of that right instead of squandering it and neglecting what our founders stood and fought for so vigorously. Thank you.
The last three awards we have, the first one is a special award that we gave this year to Jason Holly. The award was because 30 of his students wrote personal letters to 30 veterans of our post. And attached to the letter was a box, and there was a glass in there with the American flag, and below it, the veteran's name and the era he served in, whether it was Vietnam or Korea or whatever it was, or Iraq. And then some insignia of that era. For example, mine had a World War II Jeep on there. Our members were flabbergasted, to say the least. I'm sure Dave may go say something about that. So we have a special award, Jason. We want to thank you so much for what you and your students did this last year. Thank you. And our last two awards, the first one is for the Elementary School Teacher of the Year for the Mentor schools here. I'd like to make a comment on these teacher awards. The two teachers of the year that won them for Mentor also won district awards. The district covers from Sandusky to Ashtabula. That's a heck of a lot of schools and an awful lot of VFW posts. And they came out on top in district. And like a week ago, Saturday, they had a dinner for them out on the west side out there. It was really quite a night. So Laurie Epler, would you come forward, please? Laurie is an elementary teacher at Sterling Martin. Once again, thank you so much, young lady.
Thank you so much, young lady.
And our last award, also as a district winner, a high school teacher at Mentor High School. He's also a veteran. And we were very proud to have him. And our post was very proud of this because that night there was 6 awards given for 3 for safety forces, Policeman of the Year, Fireman of the Year, and Emergency Medical Award, and 3 teacher awards. We got half of the awards. We got 3 of them. For that whole area, we got 3 of them. Chad Russo. Thank you. Before I turn it over to the commander, I would like to make a remark about the Mentor schools. The programs that we have are voluntary. I believe we may be the only post in the district, and one of the few in the state, that has people in every category. That's a tribute to the students, the teachers, and the staff to give us the support like this. It's amazing how many places that people don't get, it doesn't happen. And they couldn't believe it. 300 and some essays, they just couldn't believe it. So we wanted to thank all of you for that. With that, Commander Dave DePotney.
Mr. President, board members, it's a high honor to be here with all of you and the students, everybody that's won. Your parents should be very proud. I know I am, and they are at the VFW. So what I was going to say is keep up the good work and tell the other people that didn't participate to participate next year, because we will have it as soon as we get the themes. Bob runs around to all the schools. He does all the work. That's why I let him do all the announcing. He knows, they all know him. So I thank you very, very much. Bye-bye.
Congratulations to all of our winners, and gentlemen, thank you for being here personally to recognize our teachers and our students, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Mr. President and members of the board, at this time, I would like to invite Ms. Kane and Ms. Ambrose to the podium for the Scholastic Awards presentations.
Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Wilson, March is Youth Art Month, and we would like to say thank you for your continued support of the arts programs here at Mentor Schools K through 12. Tonight, we would like to congratulate Mentor High School art students on having their artwork selected for national awards. Please be aware that our senior art students have collectively been offered close to $800,000 in scholarships to continue their art education at elite art schools and post-secondary programs upon graduation. The Scholastic's Art and Writing Awards are the nation's longest-running and most prestigious recognition program for creative teens 7th through 12th grade. This year, students from around the country submitted more than 330,000 works of visual art and writing to the Scholastic Awards. We are so pleased to see the amazing talent that is represented by our Mentor art students. Remember that only the very best artists and writers earn gold and silver awards through Scholastics, so students, you should be very proud of this recognition of your work. As a reminder, gold keys are awarded to the top 5 to 7% of all entries. That's national. And silver keys are awarded to the top 7 to 10% of all entries. We'd like to recognize our Gold Key Mentor High School winners. Caitlin Gutu, grade 12. Patricia Hidzinski, grade 12. Josh Lebowski, grade 10. Molly Nerici, grade 11. Rita Pollock, grade 12. And Anna Strozdetsky, grade 12. Our Silver Key Mentor High School winners include Samantha Abad, grade 10. Jamie DeMesa, grade 12. Suzanne Ferguson, grade 12. John Joyce, grade 12. Elizabeth Katovich, grade 12. Eva Christic, grade 12. Anselma Panik, grade 12. Rita Pollock, grade 12. And Amanda Rose, grade 12. We have one more. Founded in 1947, the National Art Education Association is the leading professional membership organization exclusively for visual arts educators. Through the NAEA, the National Art Honor Society program inspires and recognizes students who have shown an outstanding ability and interest in art. The program supports members in their efforts to attain the highest standards in art, scholarship, character, and service. I am proud to be the advisor for the NAHS at Mentor High. The NAHS received 980 submissions and 63 works have been selected for their national exhibit in Virginia. This exhibit will be on display through April 12th, and the display represents elite members of the National Art Honor Society. We have 3 students who are included. Caitlin Gutu, grade 12. Molly Nerici, grade 11. And Ivana Strauss, grade 11.
Very proud of you.
Thank you, students.
Congratulations again.
Very proud of you.
Congratulations, Dan. Congratulations to all of our Art Award winners this evening. Mr. President, members of the board, I would like to invite Mr. Crow to the podium for the last of the evening's recognitions.
Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Porter and Mr. Wilson, I'm excited to be here this evening to recognize 5 students from the Mentor High School speech and debate team and their coaches for qualifying and competing at the state tournament. Our students battled all season at numerous events and worked countless hours researching and preparing for their speeches. Their hard work and leadership has helped build a strong foundation that will benefit students from years to come. So students, as I say your name, please come up, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Roediger, who's going to say a few more things just about this season and about our students. So first, Amanda Blatz. Congratulations. Patricia Hedzinski.
Very proud of you.
Vishnavi Kasabwala. Megan Mastrodonato. And Brianna Williams.
Very proud of you.
Mr. President, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Porter, members of the board, on behalf of our team, thank you so much for having us here tonight to recognize the successes of our team. Our state tournament happened on March 1st and 2nd at Jackson High School in Massillon, and we were honored to have these girls, these powerful girls, participate. I'll just say a few words about them. Brianna and Vaishnavi are not here, but they both participate in congressional debate, where they pretend to be congresspeople and debate legislation that they have written. And they are both second-year members of our team. Megan is a freshman, and she participates in an event called Humorous Interpretation, where it is her job to deliver a 10-minute section of a story. And Megan performs the well-known classic Clementine. Mark Rotar and I think it's the first time we qualified a freshman to the state tournament, so we're super proud of her, and we're looking forward to 3 more great years. Amanda and Patricia are debate partners. They debate together in public forum debate, and the resolutions change every month, so they have learned a different topic every month this year, starting in November. And they have had an outstanding season. For the second year in a row, they won Mentors Tournament with an undefeated record. They earned their 100th debate victory this year, although they've debated in so many rounds it's hard to count them. They've been to nationals twice to represent our high school. And their most impressive accomplishment, I think, beyond the fact that they're great debaters, is the leadership they've brought to our team as captains this year. This is the second year that we've had a middle school program, and Amanda and Patricia are largely responsible for coaching debate. This year, they coached 5 debaters to 38 victories and only 18 losses. They won 11 individual awards, including 4 tournament championships. We are so incredibly proud of them, and we will miss them, but we know that great things are ahead. So congratulations, ladies.
Congratulations again to all of our speech and debate recipients this evening. And congratulations to all of the outstanding students and staff recognized. In every way, you fully exemplify Cardinal pride. Mr. President and members of the board, at this time I'm recommending approval of 4 new teacher-created online high school course offerings. These online elective courses will be taught by Mentor High teachers and will begin being offered in the second semester of the 1920 school year.
I just wanted to say how exciting I think it is that we have our own homegrown content, and we're meeting the needs of such a wonderful array of students, specialized topics, and things that both challenge and interest kids across the curriculum. So thank you to all who are involved in putting that together. I know it's a tremendous amount of work to make sure that it meets the criteria and the rigor that we expect for all of our coursework. And they sound like things that all of us would probably enjoy learning about. So thank you.
So moved.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Do we have a
I'll
second?
it.
Thank you. Mrs. Briner, or I'm sorry, Mr. Buckley?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. President, members of the board, this evening we have several new and revised policies on the agenda for a first reading. Because this is a first reading, no vote is necessary. And Mr. President and members of the board, we have 2 revised policies on the agenda for a second reading, and I'm recommending approval of both policies.
So moved.
Discussion? Anyone? Second?
Second.
Please call the roll, Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Buckley?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. President and members of the board, I am recommending approval of Agenda Item C1 related to certified personnel and C2 through C5, all related to human resource matters.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll, Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Buckley?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Thank you. This concludes my portion of tonight's agenda.
Board of Education report and recommendations. New business? Mr. Wilson, any? Mrs. Briner, legislative report?
We had several items that were introduced recently into legislation. House Bill 22, introduced by Representative Antoni in Miamisburg, to study all school buildings eligible for school facilities funding regarding air conditioning, accessibility, school safety, and other amenities. House Bill 23, introduced by also Rep. Antoni, to permit international students possessing an F1 visa to participate in interscholastic athletics. House Bill 43, introduced by Rep. Ingram in Cincinnati, to eliminate the right of first refusal for charter schools, STEM schools, and college prep boarding schools when acquiring school district property. House Bill 62, introduced by Rep. Olslager in North Canton, to hold school districts harmless from the fuel tax increase provided that they apply for the rebates. House Bill 75, introduced by Rep. Marin in Monclova Township, to require school boards to pass a resolution approving a property evaluation complaint or counter-complaint prior to filing that complaint, and send written notice to property owners indicating intent to file complaints. House Bill 76, introduced by Rep. Marin, to modify the form of election notices and ballot language for property tax levies. House Bill 89, introduced by Rep. Antoni again, to increase the penalties for failure to properly stop for a school bus. Also, House Bill 90 by Rep. Antoni, to permit public schools to implement instructional programs regarding the humanity of the unborn child, to prohibit public schools and their employees from referring a student to an abortion provider, and to make other changes regarding pregnancy and child services. House Bill 105, introduced by Reps. Brown, Canal Winchester, and Scherer in Circleville, to increase the penalty for failing to stop for a school bus that is picking up or dropping off children when the offender has a prior violation within a 5-year period. House Bill 111 was introduced by Rep. Ingram to require public and private schools to transmit a student's records within 5 school days of the record's request. House Bill 118, introduced by Rep. Don Manning, New Middletown, to prohibit a school district from reducing busing service after the first day of school, and to prohibit certain levy efforts if a district reduced bus routes or transportation services in the previous school year. House Bill 121, introduced by Rep. Schaefer in Lancaster, to allow a $100 tax credit against the personal income tax for expenses paid by teachers for instructional purposes. House Bill 122, introduced by Rep. Kohler in Springfield, to establish a statewide income-based voucher program for students at or below 400% of the federal poverty level. House Bill 123, introduced by Reps. Glenn Holmes of Girard and Gail Manning of North Ridgeville, to require public schools implement certain programs regarding suicide awareness and prevention and violence prevention. House Bill 127, introduced by Reps. Kent Smith of Euclid and Hambley of Brunswick, to prohibit the creation of new academic distress commissions. Senate Bill 1, introduced by Senator McCauley of Napoleon, to require the Ohio Department of Education and other state agencies to reduce regulatory restrictions by 30% by 2022. Senate Bill 4, introduced by Senators Rowley of Salem and Coonsey of Hilliard, to appropriate $100 million for school facilities projects. Senate Bill 10, introduced by Senator Wilson of Maineville, to increase the penalty for theft in office when the value of property or services stolen is $150,000 or more. Senate Bill 16, introduced by Senator Williams of Cleveland, to require public high schools to instruct students in proper interactions with peace officers during traffic stops and other encounters. Senate Bill 26, introduced by Senator Coonsey, to permit teachers to deduct from their state income taxes up to $250 for out-of-pocket expenses for classroom supplies and professional development. Senate Bill 34 was introduced by Senator Coonsey to revise school employment policies and revises procedures regarding educator licensure and conduct. Senate Bill 36 was introduced by Senator Matt Huffman of Lima to revise the standards for county auditors when assessing federally subsidized residential rental property values. Senate Bill 81, introduced by Senator Maharath of Columbus, to prohibit the use of seclusion in public schools. Senate Bill 84, introduced by Senate Maharath, to allow an individual enrolling a student to voluntarily state if the student's parents is a member of the armed forces. Senate Bill 85, introduced also by Senate Maharath, to revise the signage requirements for school zones. And last but not least, Senate Bill 89, introduced by Senator Huffman, to revise the laws regarding career technical education in joint vocational school districts. Any comments, questions?
One word comes to mind. Wow.
3 pages.
I can't believe they had this much activity. This is the most I've ever heard.
That's a lot.
I noticed many of the proposals infringe on local control.
I'd like to see the money to back up some of that.
Yes.
So we'll see what comes of it, huh? Mr. Wilson, any comments on any of that?
Well, as both you and Mr. Buckley indicated, there are a couple that are of great concern to us. The one placing some pretty significant hurdles in the way of protecting property values and the fairness in property taxation based on fair market value of all properties. The other is language on future levy requests that change how you compute and present the fiscal impact of a levy that I don't believe is always representative of the true impact. So there are several of these that do, I know our professional organizations are going to be very engaged in advocating for maintaining local control and the ability to operate our school districts as fiscally responsible and as fair as possible.
We'll look forward to seeing the updates on these in the future. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Briner. Mr. Wilson, Chief Financial Officer, report and recommendation.
Yes, it's recommended the report and recommendations in Exhibits 7A through 7-8 be approved, or F, I'm sorry, be approved.
So moved.
Second.
I'd just like to point out that in our monthly financial statements, there shows a $6 million variance in year-to-date collection of property taxes. I don't believe that that's yet an indicator of a shortfall of collections, but as I discussed this with the county auditor's office, they indicated they're implementing new software within the office, and they've had some bumps in the road that interfered with the normal distribution of the first tax collection. So we will certainly monitor that closely, but at this point, I don't believe there's any cause for concern.
So what she's indicated that perhaps the gross collections are equal to overall what's happened in the past or greater?
Well, it's a little too early to tell as they're processing through because of the new software, but at this time, and this has happened, I think, 2 other times in my career, not because of software changes, that the initial advance didn't follow the historical norm, and both in the other cases, it was not an indicator of an ultimate shortfall. So it's just a little early to know if there's cause for concern or not.
Please call the roll, Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Buckley?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, I have a request to certify the 2019 tax rates as presented by the Lake County Budget Commission and presented in Exhibit 7-G.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, Mr. Wilson?
This is a routine matter that we're required to do. The process involves us first demonstrating the need to continue to collect previously authorized taxes to support the operation of the district. We were successful in presenting a tax budget justifying the need for the revenues that are available. This is the final step in the process to formally accept the rates as presented. The only variation is the levy to avoid an operating deficit is a fixed dollar amount levy and adjusted every year based on the changes in the tax base. This year, the tax rate was decreased 0.75 mils from last year, but will produce the same amount of tax revenue.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Please call the roll.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Buckley?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
That completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Any unfinished business? None? New business, Mr. Wilson?
None that I have.
Hearing of the public on any items other than agenda items? Hearing none? We'll be going into executive session to discuss the sale of real estate.
We do anticipate actions when we reconvene.
So if you didn't hear that, we do anticipate action taken after the session when we come back out here. So you're welcome to stay. Either way, even if we didn't have action taken, but certainly you may stay.
Need a motion and a second.
And we need a motion to go into executive
Motion
session.
to adjourn to executive session.
Second.
Call the roll, Mr. Wilson.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Buckley?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
All right, and we're next door.
Meeting called back into order. Mr. Wilson?
Based on our discussions at executive session, we have prepared for your consideration a resolution, and I've been asked to read it into the record. Titled Resolution Authorizing the Negotiation and Execution of a Purchase Agreement between the Board of Education of the Mentor Exempted Village School District and Life Point Church for the sale of real estate known as Brentmore Elementary located at 7671 Johnny Cake Road, Mentor, Ohio. Whereas this board is the owner of real property known as Brentmore Elementary School, identified in the records of the Lake County, Ohio Auditor as parcel identification number 16A00500000010 and located at 7671 Johnny Cake Ridge Road, Mentor, Ohio. Whereas after notice was given as required by law, a public auction for sale of the property was held on October 23, 2018 in accordance with section 3313.41A of the Ohio Revised Code. However, the high bid received at auction was rejected by the board. And whereas this board is now free to sell the property at private sale and in the manner provided by section 3313.41B of the Ohio Revised Code. And whereas this board now desires to negotiate and enter into a purchase agreement with Life Point Church in accordance with the letter of intent to purchase former Brentmore Elementary School currently on file with the treasurer. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Mentor Exempted Village School District, County of Lake, State of Ohio, that Section 1, approval of the purchase agreement. The president or vice president and treasurer of the Board of Education is authorized by Section 3313.41B of the Ohio Revised Code are hereby authorized to negotiate and to sign, acknowledge, and deliver in the name and on behalf of the Board of Education an agreement between the Board of Education and Life Point Church for the property substantially in accordance with the terms of the letter of intent to purchase former Brentmore Elementary School. The execution of agreement is approved with such terms and conditions that are not materially inconsistent with this resolution and the letter of intent, and not substantially adverse to the Board of Education, and that are permitted by law and shall be approved by those officials. The approval of such terms and conditions, and that such terms and conditions are not materially inconsistent with this resolution and not substantially adverse to the Board of Education, shall be conclusively evidenced by the signing of an agreement by those officials. Section 2, approval and execution of related documents and related actions. The president or vice president, superintendent, and treasurer of this board, or such other school district officials as shall be designated by those officials as appropriate, are each authorized and directed to sign any certificates or documents and to take all such actions that are desirable, advisable, necessary, or appropriate to consummate the transactions contemplated by this resolution. Section 3, prior acts and ratified and confirmed. Any actions previously taken by school districts officials or agents of this board in furtherance to this matter shall set forth in this resolution or related to the sale of the property are hereby approved, ratified, and confirmed. Section 4, compliance with open meeting requirements. This Board of Education finds and determines that all formal actions of this board and any of its committees concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were adopted in an open meeting of this board or committees, and that all deliberations of this board and any of its committees that resulted in these formal actions were in meetings open to the public in compliance with the law. Section 5, captions and headings. The captions and headings in this resolution are solely for convenience of reference and in no way define, limit, or describe the scope or intent of any sections, subsections, paragraphs, subparagraphs, or clauses herein. Reference to a section means a section of this resolution unless indicated. Effective date of this resolution shall be in full force and effect from and immediate upon its adoption.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll, Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Buckley?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
And we have a second resolution for the board's consideration. Get myself organized here. I've been asked to read this into the record, titled "A Resolution Approving Exclusive Right to Sell Listing Agreement with Cresco Limited in connection with the sale of school district real property." Whereas this board desires to enter into an exclusive right to sell listing agreement with Cresco Limited for the purpose of obtaining services in connection with the listing and marketing and the sale of school district real estate. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of Mentor Exempted Village School District, County of Lake, State of Ohio, that Section 1, approval and execution of the exclusive right to sell listing agreement. The treasurer of this board is hereby authorized to sign, acknowledge, and deliver in the name and on behalf of the school district an exclusive right to sell listing agreement with Cresco Limited, substantially in the form now on file with the treasurer. The form of the agreement is approved with such changes herein that are not materially inconsistent with this resolution and not substantially adverse to the board, the school district, and that are permitted by law and shall be approved by the superintendent and treasurer. The approval of such changes and that such changes are not materially inconsistent with this resolution and not substantially adverse to the school district shall be conclusively evidenced by the signing of the agreement by those officials. Section 2, approval and execution of related documents. The president or vice president and treasurer of this board and the superintendent or such other school district officials as shall be designated by those officials as appropriate, are each authorized and directed to sign any certificates or documents and to take such other actions as are desirable, advisable, necessary, or appropriate to consummate the transactions contemplated by this resolution and the agreement. Section 3, prior acts ratified and confirmed. Any actions previously taken by the school district officials or agents of this board in furtherance of this matter set forth in this resolution are hereby approved, ratified, and confirmed. Section 4, compliance with open meeting requirements. This board finds and determines that all formal actions of this board and any of its committees concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were adopted in an open meeting of this board or committees, and that all deliberations of this board and any of its committees that resulted in those formal actions were in meetings open to the public in accordance with law. Caption and headings. The captions and headings in this resolution are solely for the convenience of reference and in no way define, limit, or describe the scope or intent of any sections, subsections, paragraphs, subparagraphs, or clauses hereof. Reference to a section means a section of this resolution unless otherwise indicated. This resolution shall be in full force and effect from and immediately upon its adoption. And just for clarification, the exclusive sales or listing agreement provided will be modified to indicate that it does not include Brentmore Elementary located at 7671 Johnny Cake Ridge Road.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll. Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Buckley?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
It concludes our business for this evening.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Buckley?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
It gives you down to the seconds.
Yes.
It's a very specific clock.